Continuing from the previous episode 1610. Boom! What the asterisk is this guy doing? No matter how tyrannical the Dark Shadow Guard is, he is helpless. In order to summon the Dark Shadow Guard, it has consumed a lot of my Dark Source. Once the Dark Source is exhausted, I am afraid that I will not be Xiao Yan's opponent. Looking at the Dark World in the middle, every time the Dark Knight attacked and slashed with the giant sword, it was easily avoided by Xiao Yan, and Wen Yi, standing on the shoulder of the Dark Knight, said solemnly. Wen Yi originally had no attributes, but was injected into the Dark Source by Headmaster Wen using a special power method, so it evolved into a Dark Attribute. Although the Dark Attribute gave Wen Yi a lot of convenience, at the same time, it also created his weakness. Because he is an acquired Dark Attribute, so every time you fight, you need to use a special power called the Source of Darkness to use the power of darkness. The Source of Darkness is very precious like water, and it is extremely difficult. Because of the lack of the Source of Darkness, Wen Yi has been suppressed by Ling Yu, otherwise without this restriction, Wen Yi would have long since become a real genius in the courtyard. Almost. Come out, Purgatory Ray. Suddenly, looking at the Dark Shadow Guard in the dark space, Xiao Yan sneered. Crash! As soon as the voice fell, in this space that was already covered by darkness, circles of hot melt like a tide suddenly spread out from Xiao Yan's body, and immediately added Xiao Yan's spiritual power to condense out of the pattern. The Dark World was completely replaced by the Flame World. Formation? How is that possible? Wen Yi frowned when he noticed the space suddenly transformed into the world of flames. Wang buzzing. The purgatory pattern was just formed, and the core pattern suddenly reached as many as 40,000. Purgatory formation. Purgatory Dragon Fury. In an instant, Xiao Yan stood in the purgatory formation, bathed in flames. His whole body seemed extremely sacred, as if the Supreme King had descended, controlling the boundless huge flame world. A cold snort resounded throughout the void like the sound of the sky. Hey! With the disappearance of the Dark World, the dark aura on the Dark Knight was rather weak, just like an ordinary knight. Obviously, only in the Dark World can its power evaporate to the maximum. Go back. Seeing Xiao Yan's tyrannical formation power emerging, Wen Yi suddenly fell off the Dark Knight and waved. He knew that although the Dark Knight was extremely powerful, he had no advantage in the world of flames. Wang buzzing. Wen Yi's voice fell, and the Dark Knight turned into a stream of light and disappeared directly here. Purgatory Dragon Fury. Seeing Wen Yi's death-defying move, Xiao Yan raised his palm directly. Immediately, countless flames gathered in the entire purgatory formation, and instantly turned into a flaming dragon with a length of hundreds of meters. At the place, a group of extremely bright flames was about to move. Boom! Wen Yi dissipated the Dark Knight. He didn't do anything, but stood quietly in the purgatory map. The flame dragon took the world-destroying flames and turned into a bolt of lightning, which quickly shot at it. Go! Darkness! Destroy it! His eyes closed slightly, and the dark aura around his body shook continuously. Suddenly, when Xiao Yan's flaming dragon came to his body, his palm suddenly lifted, and with a thunderous momentum, he grabbed it directly. The dragon head, at that time, the mighty flaming dragon, actually slowly decomposed under the corrosion of its dark aura. Spirit-devouring blood monument. Looking at this scene, Xiao Yan didn't expect it, but Xiao Yan is not a long-winded person, and the dazzling fighting spirit is emerging. Xiao Yan's combat power is also enough to describe the word terror. The last blow. Looking at the spirit-devouring blood tablet beside Xiao Yan in an illusory state, Wen Yi suddenly opened his eyes. His voice was extremely old, like a powerhouse awakened from ancient times. He spoke indifferently. As you wish. Hearing this, Xiao Yan nodded slowly. The aura in his body soared. Duhe burning Ju revolved at a high speed, and every time the power overflowed from his body was enough to destroy the world. Darkness. Sacrifice. A desolate ancient voice resounded like bursts of Sanskrit sounds, resounding in the flame world of the purgatory array. Boom! The seemingly weak attack just appeared, and circles of strange dark auras permeated from Wen Yi's body. Immediately after, Xiao Yan's purgatory diagram shattered. The figure is now exposed in this space. The dark attribute is extremely mysterious, even we don't know how to deal with it. Dean Ling, you have to. Looking at Wen Yi, who was using great means in the field, Ling Feng couldn't help but said. Xiao Yan couldn't die. First, Xiao Yan was a genius in the Ling Yuan Academy. Second, Ling Yu's soul body was still in Xiao Yan's hands, so Ling Yu was in a hurry. Don't worry, Ling Yuanzi gently agreed, but at the same time his heart was filled with a burst of horror. Obviously Wen Yi's perception of the dark attribute far exceeded his expectations. This level of attack, let alone mere 4-star fighting immortals, I am afraid that even some 5-star fighting immortals are hard to resist. The underworld is really a good place. When I have the opportunity, I will naturally go to see it. But with such an attack, you want to stop my progress. Idiot, talking about a dream. Fire. Lei Lai. Seeing this, Xiao Yan's silent blood became hot at this moment, as if being ignited by the dark attributes around Wen Yi. His blood boiled. Boom! As Xiao Yan opened his mouth, the great heavenly seed Fei Yan burst out of his body and poured into Xiao Yan's hands. Soul power, Thunderfire Hell. With a cold snort, the power of the soul clone Xiao Lei was directly absorbed by Xiao Yan, and with Xiao Yan's current soul power and fighting spirit, he directly displayed Thunderfire Hell. A huge guardian body surrounded by thunder and flame power completely shrouded Xiao Yan, and even Xiao Yan, who was located in the center of thunder and fire Hades, on the palm of his hand, a flickering of the power of the great celestial crimson flame and Xiao Lei Ting's the powerful thunder and fire lotus seeds burst forth. Ended. Dark sacrifice. Destroy the sky. Wen Yi said with a slow smile at the corner of Xiao Yan's mouth when he saw Xiao Yan's means. Immediately, the remaining dark source was injected into his dark aura like water, and the overwhelming dark aura would directly face Xiao Yan. Yan roared away, like a vicious snake, extremely terrifying. The King of Thunder and Fire, defend. Thunderfire Lotus Seeds, bloom. Thunderfire Hell King directly resisted the erosion of the dark aura, and then the exquisite Thunderfire Lotus Seeds easily exploded in the void in front of Wen Yi. Boom! In an instant, the deafening sound of energy explosions could be heard in this space. As for the figures of Xiao Yan and Wen Yi, it was extremely difficult to distinguish them for a while. However, the extremely powerful people on the scene knew that when the aftermath of the battle dissipated, the outcome should also belong. Continuing from the previous episode 1611. What a terrifying fluctuation. Is this really an attack that 2 4-star fighting immortal powerhouses can unleash? This kind of attack and fluctuation, even if it is some 5-star fighting immortals, is just like that. These two guys are too perverted, right? Outside the field, Irene pouted slightly, looking at the heart of the battle. The energy ripples covering the sun and the destruction storm, pouted. You are just too playful. This time you will have to practice hard when you go back. Seeing Irene like this, Headmaster I preached. Irene nodded lightly when she heard the words, and her beautiful eyes kept staring at the battle circle. At this time, the two of them seemed to be extremely weak, but in this battle between geniuses, who would win? The outcome is already divided. After Shunshi, Ling Yuanzi smiled at the few people present as if he was relieved. Victory or defeat? Who won? Listening to Ling Yuanzi's opening, Headmaster Wen couldn't help exclaiming, his pupils locked tightly in the battle arena, trying to see the victor from the sky-shattering fog. Peefed. With a sound, the void squirmed, and a figure suddenly appeared in everyone's sight. Wen Yi? Ai Zhangjiao lost his voice when he saw the figure that appeared from the void, but this figure was Wen Yi, but it was extremely weak, and there was a fog around him, which was quite vague, so I can't be sure for a while. Hey, this guy Xiao Yan is still. Ling Feng shook his head when he heard the words, but no matter the outcome of this competition, he could still get back to Ling Yu. No, not Wen Yi. Suddenly, Irene covered the corner of her mouth with a small hand and lost her voice. Cough cough. I'm sorry, it seems that the qualifications to enter the Earth Spirit Pagoda can't run away. After a while, the fog in the void dissipated, and Wen Yi's body slowly fell, and Xiao Yan's figure and voice simultaneously changed from behind the back memories emerged. You brat. Seeing Xiao Yan's appearance, Ling Yuanzi smiled. Obviously he had already noticed it. Oh, that's all. The next moment, Headmaster Wen slowly shook his head, and immediately helped Wen Yi up. After confirming that Xiao Yan did not use any indiscriminate means, his body slowly disappeared and left here. Xiao Yan, congratulations. Seeing Sect Master Wen, who was the most difficult of the three major sect masters, leave, Irene smiled at Xiao Yan. Cough cough. Just a fluke. Xiao Yan clasped his fists and smiled. However, only Xiao Yan knew that he was as strong as Thunderfire Hell, just now adding Thunderfire Lotus Seeds, and he almost suffered a loss in Wen Yi's hands. If it wasn't for the clan lines surging between his eyebrows and absorbing that dark aura, the consequences would be unimaginable. And after the dark aura was absorbed by his clan, as if he was about to wake up, an old and terrifying aura slowly lingered. Xiao Yan, congratulations. After a while, Ling Yu also stepped forward and congratulated. Sect Master Ling, this is what you need. Seeing this, Xiao Yan shook his palm, and a ray of light wrapped in the spirit-devouring bloodsteel emerged. Wang buzzing, just as the rays of light surged, a violent tremor suddenly appeared, as if trying to struggle to escape, but unfortunately Ling Yu's mere soul body was unable to escape Xiao Yan's suppression. Nizi! In an instant, Ling Feng's face turned pale, and a roar like the sound of thunder suddenly spread. Quote. Shocked by this voice, Ling Yu's soul body suddenly became quiet, and then he was directly taken into the bag by Ling Feng. Thank you. After doing all this, Ling Feng's eyes became vicissitudes. This time, in order to exchange Ling Yu's soul body, his status could not be retained, and even many relationships in the courtyard were used by himself. It can be said that it is extremely heavy, but Ling Feng thinks it is worth it. Earth Spirit Pagoda. What is it? Looking at Ling Yuanzi, Headmaster Ling Feng, Irene and Headmaster Ai who were present, Xiao Yan scratched his head and asked. Obviously he knew a lot about the Earth Spirit Pagoda. Rare. You brat. You're good at being cheap when you get it. Earth Spirit Pagoda. This is the greatest treasure of our entire Earth Spirit Yuan. The composition of the Earth Spirit Pagoda is constructed by the great power of the Chaos element. Although it has only 5 floors, because of the Chaos element, every disciple who enters it will be immediately sent to some unfamiliar areas. Ling Yujian the State explained to Xiao Yan. Chaos system? What is the purpose of this Earth Spirit Pagoda? Xiao Yan asked in an instant. Earth Spirit Pagoda. This is a place of chance. It is constructed by the great power of the Chaos system. The tower connects countless regions, and every time the disciples enter the ground tower, they will be immediately sent to some unfamiliar places and defeat some guardians. Or crack the secrets, and you can live a very rich reward. That kind of richness is staggering. After a while, Headmaster Ai explained. So, what other questions are there? Ling Yuanzi asked, looking at Xiao Yan's puzzled look. Can I enter the deepest 5th floor of the Earth Spirit Pagoda? Xiao Yan asked tentatively, looking at the 3 big men beside him. 5th floor? Stunned. Ling Yuanzi's smile, and even the faces of Ling Feng and Headmaster Ai became strange because of Xiao Yan's question. Hey, Xiao Yan, do you know the concept of the 5th floor of the Earth Spirit Pagoda? Irene whispered to the side. What? Xiao Yan asked. Earth Spirit Pagoda is a place of opportunity. Countless disciples want to enter it, but very few are qualified to enter it, and the 4th and 5th floors of the Earth Spirit Pagoda, even a few sect masters can't go smoothly. Entering, it is said that there seems to be some unknown secrets inside, but unfortunately, since the establishment of the Earth Spirit Pagoda, no one has entered the 4th floor, so the 5th floor. Irene said, Good boy, have courage. There is no limit to the Earth Spirit Pagoda, only you have enough strength and opportunity. The 5-story Earth Spirit Pagoda, hand in hand. Seeing Xiao Yan's puzzled appearance, Headmaster Ai also spoke freely, and they also wanted to see the 4th what secrets are hidden in the layer and the 5th layer. Old Ai is right, as long as you can enter the 5th floor, we will solve all the pressures for you. Ling Yuanzi smiled. He also wanted to see how much of a storm this Xiao Yan could create, and the Ground Spirit Pagoda, every time you step on the 1st floor, the chance you get is extremely huge. Generally, the disciples who step on the 2nd floor of the Earth Spirit Pagoda will have a qualitative leap. If Xiao Yan can break through the 5th floor of the Earth Spirit Pagoda, I am afraid that the potential is enough to describe it with the word enchanting. Since that's the case, then I would like to thank a few headmasters. It shouldn't be too late, let's start now. With the reassurance of several headmasters, Xiao Yan did not hesitate, his eyes fixed on the top of the mountain range, and a fiery burst emerged. The fastest update of Chi novel whether the Chidu Diversion Soul Cup will be in the Earth Spirit Pagoda, and whether things related to Xiaogui's parents can be investigated clearly in the Earth Spirit Pagoda. Chi's novels are first published on the whole network. The trip to the Earth Spirit Pagoda should be very interesting. Opening parenthesis, closing parenthesis. Continuing from the previous episode 1612. You kid, I'm in a hurry. The figures of the headmaster looked at Xiao Yan's hot eyes and couldn't help but laugh. They naturally knew the preciousness of the Earth Spirit Pagoda, but the Earth Spirit Pagoda can only be used by 5-star fighting immortals. Enter, so these guys, even if they want to enter, they can't resist the mysterious chaotic power, so they can only do this. Hee hee. Seeing this, Xiao Yan smiled and did not shy away from it. After all, the Earth Spirit Pagoda was right in front of him. Let's go! With a light hum, Ling Feng waved his hand, and dazzling spatial fluctuations emerged, directly including everyone's figures in it. After a few breaths, everyone was also brought to the top of the mountain by Ling Feng. Here, it is also impressive. The place where the Spirit Pagoda is stationed and the passage to enter the Earth Spirit Pagoda also exists here. Is this the Earth Spirit Pagoda? Just after arriving at the top of this mountain range, a desolate aura slowly emerged, and then looking at a miniature tower in front of her that was immersed in the mud, Irene lost her voice. At the top of the mountain, there is a majestic raised peak. At the top of the mountain, there is a small black tower engraved with countless mysterious lines. It is suddenly inserted into the top of the mountain. The small tower and the mountain are like one body. The fluctuations are densely covered, and it is obviously an extremely tyrannical defense force, so this level of defense, let alone a mere 4-star Do Xian, even a 5-star Do Xian would not dare to confront it. It is because of the arrangement of the net of heaven and earth. If you want to break through, I am afraid it is a fool's dream. In the center of the black rock at the top of the mountain, the Black Earth Spirit Pagoda slowly appeared. The small pagoda was about tens of meters in size. It looks like a very ordinary small tower, but inside it contains monstrous divine power. You are fighting with both of them today. If you have a source of injury, why don't you take a day off before entering tomorrow? Seeing the Earth Spirit Pagoda in front of him, Ling Yuanzi looked at Xiao Yan with concern and asked. The time is not for me. Xiao Yan shook his head when he heard the words. Although the Earth Spirit Pagoda is a tower of chance, we do our best in everything. What I can do is to open the spiritual gate to send you in. As for what chance and treasure you can get, it depends on your fortune. Suddenly, Ling Feng's eyes became illusory. Obviously Xiao Yan returned Ling Yu's soul. The body, of course, is also willing to serve. Many thanks, lords. Xiao Yan heard the words, and slowly clasped his fists to thank the two headmasters and Ling Yuanzi present. Ling Men, open. After a while, on Ling Feng's body, a trace of silver lines spread out from his body like a wriggling snake. Immediately under his control, he blasted away at the small tower in the center of the mountain. Boom! The small black tower that was standing quietly was so disturbed by Ling Feng, and suddenly bursts of strange power spread out. This power was invisible and colorless, but Xiao Yan understood that this was shockingly chaotic fluctuations, but the word chaos is too mysterious, let alone Xiao Yan, even the Lord of Soul Eater doesn't know much. Go in, don't force it, if you can't support it, come out. You little guy is the pride of our Earth Spirit Academy. Seeing the mysterious power of the Chaos Light Gates emerging around the small black tower, Ling Yuanzi said. Disciple leads the order. Seeing this, Xiao Yan's heart became even more scorching hot, and he did not hesitate immediately. His body turned into a stream of light, and directly penetrated into the chaotic light gate of the small black tower. Weng Om! After the breath, the Earth Spirit Pagoda became calm, but Xiao Yan had already entered it at this time. I don't know how this little guy can grow to various levels after coming out of the Earth Spirit Pagoda. As Xiao Yan disappeared, the several headmasters present also laughed. Xiao Yan was able to cope with the 4-star Do Xian perfection level powerhouse with the strength of the 4-star Do Xian in the early stage, and he was able to experience the gift of the Earth Spirit Pagoda. Let's go, then take good care of the Earth Spirit Institute. I always feel that something big is happening. I hope it's my delusion. After a while, Ling Yuanzi slowly disappeared, leaving a rather obscure voice behind. On the other side, in the Earth Spirit Pagoda. Boom! Xiao Yan had just entered the Earth Spirit Pagoda from the Chaos Gate of Light, and was suddenly pushed to a certain place by an extremely terrifying chaotic force. No matter how Xiao Yan wanted to break free from this bondage, there was no way to do it. Can only rely on the power of the soul to vaguely feel that he seems to be pushed to an extremely strange place by the power of chaos. What is this place? Just after arriving here, Xiao Yan's whole body was filled with dazzling white mist, and he couldn't see exactly where this place was, but a touch of indifference emerged in his heart, and he immediately frowned, always vigilant. The chaos system is rather strange. It not only contains many characteristics of the space channel, but also many mysterious powers, even I don't know it. After a while, the Lord of Soul Eater said, "How to dispel these mists?" At that time, Xiao Yan felt that the space around him had stabilized, and immediately he could not see his 5 fingers, and immediately asked in doubt. Crimson flame sea of fire. The next moment, a fiery red celestial seed emerged from Xiao Yan's body, and the majestic flame power burned directly. Shabu! With a sound, this special space filled with white mist suddenly revealed its original appearance. This is the first floor of the Earth Spirit Pagoda? Ghost Cemetery? And with the power of Xiao Yan's great celestial flame to disperse the white fill, the power of flame was instantly annihilated by a mysterious force, and then a sound was lost from Xiao Yan's body. Soul Eater emerged from the mouth. Ghost Cemetery? Xiao Yan heard the words, his eyes spread out, and a stunned expression immediately appeared in his heart. Looking around, this is an extremely desolate area. The entire ley line presents an arc-shaped structure. There is no life here, nor any life. It is even only constructed of countless tombstones. There are extremely strong fluctuations in the middle, like obsession. Even at the top of the arc-shaped ghost cemetery, a red tombstone slowly poured into Xiao Yan's line of sight, but just as Xiao Yan's eyes fixed on the red tombstone, his body trembled involuntarily, and even his insides, the spirit palace, trembled violently, as if it had encountered some terrifying biological aura, emitting an aura of fear. Xiao Yan is now the sole power of the fairyland, which can make him feel so fearful. I am afraid it is enough to show that the danger in the first floor of the spiritual tower is far beyond Xiao Yan's imagination. However, it also happened to answer the words of the Earth Spirit Academy. After all, chance and asterisk are only a matter of one thought. Earth Spirit Tower. Opportunity is above, asterisk is below, right and wrong, success or failure, between a single thought. This is the description of the Earth Spirit Pagoda by the Earth Spirit Academy. Continuing from the previous episode 1613. Teacher, the Ghost Cemetery. What is this? After a while, Xiao Yan asked absent-mindedly, looking at this jaw-droppingly terrifying cemetery. I didn't expect the chaos element of the Earth Spirit Pagoda to be so mysterious and sent you here. Ghost Cemetery. This is one of the few strange places in the ghost world. Among the 7 realms, each realm has an extremely mysterious cave heaven blessed land. Among the cave heaven blessed land, it is said to be the highest secret related to their respective realms. In addition, there are many mysterious places. Although this kind of place is dangerous, but it has a huge opportunity, the ghost cemetery is slightly inferior to the paradise, but this place is also full of danger and opportunity. Because I remember that there seems to be a very tyrannical ghost master in the ghost cemetery. Although it is not really the supreme one, it is not to be underestimated for current fans. Its strength is extremely terrifying. If it can be defeated and subdued, I am afraid that your soul power will rise to a higher level. Suddenly, the Lord of Soul Eater explained. Does the ghost dominate? Hearing the Soul Eater speak like this, Xiao Yan stared at the red tombstone at the top of the cemetery and muttered to himself. A ghost is a unique creature in the ghost world, similar to a soul body, but it is only a mutation of a soul body. Even so, its power is mysterious. After a while, the Lord of Soul Eater spoke up. Go up and have a look. Xiao Yan nodded lightly, and immediately the dazzling soul power filled his body, and he started to walk. It is strange to say that the ground of this cemetery is mostly black soil, and there seems to be some very special power in the soil. Even Xiao Yan, stepping on the soil of the cemetery, feels uneasy for a while. Below the black soil, there seems to be some kind of heart-pounding power. These tombstones. It seems that the figures buried in these tombstones and tombs were all powerful people during their lifetimes, but why are they buried here? Xiao Yan kept walking around, deftly bypassing the tombstones and tombs, without figuring out the layout of the place. On top of that, Xiao Yan would not be foolish enough to destroy these tombstones and tombs. After all, although the tombs were only tens of meters in size, some obscure words were clearly recorded on the tombstones. Hey! A gust of gloomy wind blew, and a strange voice filled the air in the ghost cemetery. What sound? After a while, Xiao Yan's huge soul force seemed to sense something, frowned, and looked around vigilantly. Boom! After a while, a trace of dark-colored energy broke away from the countless gray tombstones, and immediately roared towards Xiao Yan from all directions. Although these dark-colored energies were weak, they were better than hundreds of thousands. The combined power was enough to shock Xiao Yan. It won't be so miserable. Seeing the countless dark-colored energies attacking, Xiao Yan's heart was filled with horror, and he said, because the energy contained in these dark-colored energies is probably not something that he can handle now. Go ahead. We should have been discovered. It's better to solve this Ghost King as soon as possible, and it's better to enter the next floor earlier. After all, my perception tells me that the Chidu Yinhunzin seems to exist here. So this trip to the Earth Spirit Pagoda should not it's easy. Seeing this, Soul Eater said, Okay. Xiao Yan nodded slowly when he heard the words. Yu Mingtian. A cold snort sounded like an eagle's cry. Immediately, in this space, countless dark-colored energies suddenly quieted down, and after a while, they slowly retreated. Let's go! Seeing Xiao Yan's actions, the Master of Soul Eater opened his mouth. In the ghost cemetery, the aura in the ordinary tombstone tomb is quite weak, so Xiao Yan's fairyland-level soul power has sent such a terrifying blow. Naturally it can only be quiet, but what is on the top of the cemetery something, slowly waking up. Pimple. Shaking the dark energy back, Xiao Yan walked at a rapid pace, easily bypassing the tombstone and the tomb, and headed directly towards the high point of the core of the cemetery, the red tombstone. With his perception, he was able to know that the red tombstone at the core was obviously the key to cracking the ghost cemetery, but even Xiao Yan's current fairyland-level soul power, when he approached the red tombstone, also felt a burst of fear in his heart. Wing Om Om. After the breath, Xiao Yan's figure came to the core of the ghost cemetery as if walking on the ground, and immediately stared at the red tombstone. Mrs. Du was born in the ghost world and died in the ghost world. She once helped the Lord of Soul Eater conquer hundreds of continents under the Soul Eater domain, and then disappeared. She is the only ghost master in the ghost world. On the red tombstone, a few strange words appeared slowly, but when Xiao Yan saw these words, a chill couldn't help but permeate. Moreover, the words, Master of Soul Eater, on the tombstone gave Xiao Yan an extremely terrifying shock. It seemed that his master knew the ghost in front of him. I'll give you some extra. Boom. Seeing Xiao Yan so focused, Soul Eater's main song flicked his fingers, with a tyrannical wave, and attacked the red tombstone directly. Shabu Shabu. The attack of the Soul Eater had just come to the red tombstone, and was immediately bounced back by a mirror-like force, but the next moment, a tyrannical gloomy aura quietly appeared in the red tombstone. It diffused out, and the breath of Soul Eater also disappeared without a trace. Damn. Seeing his teacher, Soul Eater, Xiao Yan couldn't help scolding secretly. Obviously this was he did it on purpose, and he could only rely on himself for the next step. Hee, a little guy in the early stage of 4-star fighting immortals, also tried to break into my ghost cemetery. Little guy, are you here as a snack for my sister? In the blink of an eye, a light voice suddenly echoed in this space. Fortunately, it's not a 5-star fighting immortal, otherwise it would be troublesome. Hearing this heart-pounding voice, Xiao Yan felt relieved. The ghost is extremely strange, and it is a mutation of the soul body. Xiao Yan has no experience in fighting such a creature since ancient times, so it is quite difficult to deal with it. However, if this ghost is not strong enough to be a 5-star fighting immortal, then Xiao Yan has some hope of defeating it with the many means on his body. What a tyrannical soul power, although the strength is not strong, but the soul power is far greater than mine. It seems that this guy is not so easy to defeat. Xiao Yan's eyes kept scanning, trying to detect the source of the sound, but it was failed. Little guy, you have some subtle fluctuations in your body, but you should quit. I don't want to be your enemy, because you can't beat me. After a while, a light voice was in this space, thinking of love. Only this time, there is a strong warning in the voice, even the soul power of the fairyland level, there is no doubt. Continuing from the previous episode 1614. It's so strong. Xiao Yan couldn't help but say when he sensed the spread of this soul power. Crash! After a while, on the red tombstone, a red-clothed shadow suddenly appeared from within, and when the shadow just appeared, the entire space became quiet in an instant, as if waiting for their queen to return. In the quiet void of the skin, there is an extremely terrifying danger. Queen of Ghosts? Xiao Yan couldn't help but exclaimed when he saw the woman in red who suddenly appeared. The red-clothed woman's cheeks were wrapped in tulle, and she couldn't see the specific outline, but her graceful figure was staggering, and under such a curve, the hidden power was enough to destroy the world. Let's go. The woman in red just appeared. She glanced at Xiao Yan with her beautiful eyes, and immediately shook her head. I don't know why, some of Xiao Yan's obscure auras made him feel quite familiar, but he only had acquaintances in Soul Eater realm, and now there are no guys in Li Soul realm who knew him, which made him red. The woman in clothes was quite puzzled, and immediately said, otherwise, with the character of the Ghost Queen, the killing would have already started completely. Senior, although it's a bit presumptuous, but today, I have to break through here, so I'm offended. In an instant, seeing the Ghost Queen's figure emerge, Xiao Yan first clasped his fists and smiled, and then the dazzling soul power quickly emerged like a tide. Gathered around him, resisting the hidden powers around the Ghost Queen, and the fighting spirit permeated. Xiao Yan naturally realized that this guy and his teacher, the Master of Soul Eaters, should have something to do with some vague words on the red tombstone. What an extraordinary relationship is normal, so let's try it out. Etc. Little guy, I miss you a little weird, so I don't want to do anything to you. But this is my territory. If you don't retreat and take the initiative to attack, I'm afraid we will meet in real war. I won't be polite then. There was a faint coldness, and from this coldness, Xiao Yan sensed a boundless icy killing intent. The python of the spiritual palace. Seeing the red-clothed figure so warned, Xiao Yan disapproved. Inside Xiao Yan's soul realm, there is a 9th-level spiritual palace. At this time, the 1st-level spiritual palace has been filled with majestic soul power, and a dazzling light emerges. After a while, in front of Xiao Yan, a giant soul python forms. On the soul python, the dark-colored scales are quite strange, and it seems to contain monstrous mysterious power, and the soul python is filled with an extremely terrifying aura, which is extremely terrifying. The soul python had just emerged, carrying an extremely terrifying aura, and a faint light wrapped Xiao Yan, and immediately stared at the red-clothed figure in front of him with a delay, as if it was instinctive, it could detect the tyrannical figure in the red-clothed figure. Strength, so be wary. Is the soul power at the peak of the early stage of the fairyland, Tai Shu? Looking at the dazzling soul python around Xiao Yan, the red-clothed Qianying said with a slight surprise. Obviously she did not expect Xiao Yan's soul power to reach this level. The number of layers of the spiritual palace determines the limit of soul power in the future. Generally, the spiritual palaces of the normal powerhouses are basically distributed between the 4th and 7th floors, and the powerhouses who can condense the 8-layered spiritual palaces are very few in the entire Great Thousand World. As for the 9 layers of spirit palaces, I am afraid that there are only one-handed numbers in the entire Great Thousand World, so that the most tyrannical 10-layer spirit palace only exists in legends, but it is said that the 10-layer spirit palace has extraordinary soul power, and once the 10-layer spirit palace ignite, gestures, planes and realms, destruction and birth are only in the blink of an eye. Go! After taking a breath, Xiao Yan's mind moved, and the spirit palace wriggled and immediately controlled the soul python, roaring away at the Ghost Queen with a ghastly face. The soul python was covered in dim light, and in an instant, it completely ignited the ghost cemetery, which was as bright as a galaxy. Such an extremely terrifying soul power, even a normal 4-star fighting immortal, could not easily deal with it. Xiao Yan also wanted to see how tyrannical this Ghost Queen was. Quote. The soul python roared away at the red-clothed shadow with a ferocious face, but the strange thing was that when it approached the red-clothed shadow for several dozen meters, it actually became quiet, and after a few breaths, it turned into fullness. The sky powder dissipated in this ghostly graveyard. Guru. At this moment, Xiao Yan swallowed a sip of saliva with difficulty. Now Xiao Yan realized that although the power of this Ghost Queen is also a 4-star fighting immortal, her soul power is far more than his own. Soul power, after entering the fairyland, is divided into 3 realms: Taishu, Huayuan, and Shenyu, in the fairyland. Each realm is divided into 3 levels: front, middle and back, and each level seems weak. In fact, the difference is huge. This guy is actually the soul power of the late stage of Taishu, in the fairyland. I was barely in the early stage. The difference between the two of us is 2 levels. Adding the gap in the strength of fighting chi, it is too tricky. Looking at the soul python, it was easily defeated, Xiao Yan said solemnly. Obviously, if this ghost queen does not have a good plan to deal with it, I am afraid that the next battle will become more difficult. Little guy, elder sister doesn't want to kill you, but you brought it on yourself, no wonder I. After a while, the figure of the red-clothed figure became illusory, and an indescribable wave slowly spread. 7th floor spirit palace? Filled the 3 layers? Watching the red-clothed figure act like this, and the soul force noticed that the 3-level spiritual palace in the red-clothed woman's body was shaking violently, such a peeing soul force, if it was successfully condensed by it. I am afraid that with today's Xiao Yan, there is only one way to go. With this red-clothed figure's action, the countless gray-white tombstones in the entire ghost cemetery suddenly let out bursts of lament, as if they were triggered by the ghost queen's attack. Oh, forget it. Just when Xiao Yan was in a hurry, the voice of the Soul Eater came out of Xiao Yan's body. This is originally planned to use a fatal blow to obliterate Xiao Yan here, but when this old voice appeared, the face under the veil of the red-clothed figure couldn't help but become strange and lost his voice. Lingqi, I haven't seen you for a long time, you are still so terrifying. After a while, a black energy suddenly filled out Xiao Yan's body. The black qi just emerged, and the terrifying power of devouring suddenly filled the void of the ghost cemetery, and suddenly turned into a middle-aged man with a burly body and an old voice, but behind this seemingly ordinary body, it seemed it hides a terrifying power that destroys the world. Master of Soul Eater? Lord! How did you do that? Looking at the illusory figure in front of him, the offensive in the hands of Qianying in red shattered directly and lost his voice.